Ever wondered how companies don't just, say they're trustworthy and secure, but actually prove it?
Yeah. How do they show they're following the rules?
And keeping finances straight and staying safe from, well, all the digital bad guys out there.
It's actually a whole system, really. A whole set of checks and tests all working together.
It sounds complex.
It can be, but it's the bedrock for credibility. It ensures accuracy, compliance, and resilience against threats. The ones you might not even see coming.
Okay, and that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've got some great material here from a chapter looking at audits, assessments, and penetration testing.
Right, and our plan is to unpack these terms, show you how they all connect, and explain why they're just so critical for trust and security in today's world.
And hopefully make it easy to understand, yeah.
Exactly, like a conversation, not a lecture.
Perfect. Okay, so let's maybe start with a foundational idea you mentioned. Attestation. Sounds a bit formal.
It does, but the concept is pretty simple. Attestation is basically that process of having information, or maybe systems, checked out and validated by an independent party.
Independent being the key word.
Absolutely. Think about external auditors signing off on financial statements. That's attestation right there.
Yeah.
It gives assurance to, investors, regulators, customers.
The people who need to know if they can trust the company.
Precisely. It proves that what the company is saying is reliable and accurate because someone objective has looked at it.
So it's not just the company patting itself on the back. It's getting that trusted outside stamp of approval.
You got it. Without that independent validation, confidence just plummets. It's fundamental for trust. Not just in one company, but in the whole system.
Makes total sense. It's the bedrock, like you said. All right, let's start peeling back the layers then. How do companies kick off this whole process? Does it start from the inside?
Often, yeah. It makes sense to check your own house first, right? Before you invite the inspectors in.
Okay. So internal audits and assessments.
Exactly. These are checks done by people within the company.
So the company auditing itself, what's the main point of that? Who are they trying to satisfy?
Well, it's primarily for the company's own benefit for management and the board. It's about managing risk, making sure operations are running smoothly, checking compliance with their own internal rules.
So not external laws yet, but their own policies.
Right. And finding areas to improve before something goes wrong. It's proactive.
Gotcha. Our source mentioned a few types, like compliance audits internally.
Yeah, internal compliance audits are focused on making sure teams and employees are actually following the company's specific rulebook, the operational procedures, the internal controls they've set up.
So basically checking if everyone's playing by the internal rules they set.
Exactly. Are people doing what they're supposed to, according to the company's own standards?
And who sees these findings?
Usually, it goes up the chain to senior management and often to the audit committee.
Okay, the audit committee. I saw that mentioned too. How do they fit in? Are they like the auditors for the internal auditors?
That's actually a pretty good way to put it.
Yeah.
They are typically a committee of the board, often independent directors. Their job is to oversee the whole financial reporting process, the internal controls, and importantly, the internal audit function itself.
So they make sure the internal audit team is effective and sort of independent enough within the company.
Yes, and that management actually listens to and acts on what the internal auditors find. They provide oversight.
Right, a governance layer. And they report up to the main board of directors.
Correct, giving that high-level assurance. Then you've also got self-assessments mentioned.
Self-assessments, that sounds even more internal, like a team checking its own work.
It often is. It can be less formal. Maybe an operational team looks at its own processes, identifies risks they see day to day, and figures out ways they could be more efficient or effective.
Like a team looking at their workflow and saying, hey, wait, if we changed this bit, we could cut down on errors.
Exactly like that. It's really about building that culture of improvement and risk awareness right where the work happens, for internal use mainly.
Okay, so that covers the internal checks. But, like we said with attestation, for that real credibility with outsiders, investors, regulators, partners, you need someone independent looking in.
And that brings us squarely to external audits. These are done by independent third-party firms. Think accounting firms, mostly. They have no vested interest in the company's results.
That independence again, why is it so important here?
Because it provides objective credibility. Simple as that. When an external, impartial firm examines something and gives their opinion, people outside the company trust it far more.
Right. It removes any suspicion of bias.
Totally. It's essential for things like being listed on a stock exchange or meeting legal reporting duties.
Makes sense. Okay, types of external audits, regulatory ones.
Yeah, regulatory audits are all about checking compliance with external rules, laws, government regulations, industry-specific stuff like, say, GDPR for data privacy or banking regulations.
And these are often mandatory, right? You have to do them.
Very often, yes.
Yeah.
And the results go to both management and the regulators themselves to prove compliance.
Okay. Then there are examinations, specifically financial ones. This is what most people think of as an audit, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is the deep dive into the company's financial records. Are they accurate? Are they complete? And crucially, are they prepared according to established standards like GAAP or IFRS?
So making absolutely sure all the numbers add up correctly according to that standard playbook everyone uses.
Precisely. So investors and analysts can actually understand and compare financials across different companies. The output is those audited financial statements you see publicly.
Got it. And then external assessments. What do they look at?
These can be broader. They might evaluate the company's internal controls, its risk management framework, its governance structures, but from that outside, objective viewpoint.
So looking at the systems the company uses to keep things safe, efficient, and well-run, assessing if they're actually any good.
Exactly. Are the systems designed well? Are they operating effectively? They often come with recommendations for improvement, just like internal assessments, but with the weight of that external perspective.
Okay, so external checks really provide that crucial independent stamp.
They do. It underpins so much trust in the business world.
All right, so we've covered checking the rule books, checking the finances, internally and externally. That's the sort of, are we doing things right part. But what about actively, trying to break things, especially in the digital realm?
Now we're shifting gears. That's where penetration testing comes in.
Pen testing. Okay, so this isn't about checking compliance anymore.
Not directly, no. This is about answering the question, can someone actually get through our defenses? It's a simulated attack.
Tell me more. What's the core idea?
So penetration testing, or pen testing, is basically a controlled, authorized attempt to breach a company's security. It's done by cybersecurity pros, sometimes called ethical hackers.
Ethical hackers, I like that. So they use the same tricks as the real attackers.
Pretty much, yeah. They use similar tools and techniques to find vulnerabilities before the malicious actors do.
Why do companies do this? Just to find holes?
Well, yes, to find weaknesses, but also to understand the potential impact if those weaknesses were exploited. It helps prioritize security spending, fix high-risk issues, and generally toughen up defenses. Plus, sometimes regulations require it.
Makes sense. Proactive defense. Our source mentioned different kinds, even physical pen testing.
Oh yeah. Physical pen testing involves trying to bypass actual physical security controls.
Wait, like literally trying to pick locks or sneak past guards to get into the building or server room?
Exactly that. Can someone tailgate through a secure door? Can they access sensitive documents left out? It tests the real-world physical security.
Wow. Okay, what about the cyber side, offensive and defensive?
Right. Offensive testing is often called the red team. They play the role of the attacker, actively trying to exploit vulnerabilities and breach systems.
Okay, they're the bad guys in this simulation.
Correct. Then you have the defensive side, the blue team. Their focus is on assessing how well the organization detects the attack, responds to it, and recovers.
So red team is the offense, blue team is the defense, testing both sides.
Precisely. It's like a cybersecurity fire drill. Sometimes they run together in an integrated exercise to see the whole picture. And integrated can also mean testing both physical and digital defenses together.
That sounds intense. Now, there was also this breakdown based on how much the testers know beforehand. The hat colors, white, gray, black.
Yes. That refers to the amount of information the ethical hackers get before they start the test. It changes the approach significantly.
Okay, let's start with known environment, or white box, white hat.
White box means the testers get a lot of info. Upfront network maps, source code, system configurations, basically the blueprints.
Like giving them the keys to the city. Why do that? Doesn't it make it too easy?
It might seem like it, but the goal isn't always pure realism from an external perspective. White box testing lets testers be super efficient and thorough. They can dive deep into specific complex systems quickly without spending ages just mapping things out. Focus is the effort.
Okay, so efficiency and depth over pure stealth. Got it. What about partially known? Gray box, gray hat.
Gray box gives the testers some information, but not everything. Maybe some user credentials or basic network info. It simulates an attacker who's already done a bit of digging or maybe compromised a low-level account.
Like they have the building address and maybe saw an ad for who works there, but no floor plans.
Good analogy. It strikes a balance. It's often seen as quite realistic for simulating, say, an insider threat or an attacker who's passed the initial reconnaissance phase.
Right. And finally, unknown environment, black box, black hat. This sounds like the ultimate challenge.
It is, in many ways. Black box testing means the testers start with practically zero internal information, maybe just the company name or website.
Just like a real external hacker starting from scratch.
Exactly. They have to discover everything themselves. This type of test is excellent for assessing the effectiveness of perimeter defenses and how well the company looks from a completely external viewpoint.
Okay, white, gray, black hat. Different levels of insider knowledge affecting the test, very clear. But how did these testers, especially the black box ones, even begin? Where do they start looking for weaknesses?
Great question. That leads us perfectly into reconnaissance.
Reconnaissance? Like military recon, gathering intel.
Precisely. It's the information gathering phase. It's crucial. Both ethical hackers and malicious attackers spend a lot of time here before they even think about launching an actual exploit.
Doing their homework on the target, basically.
Exactly. And it breaks down into two main types, passive and active.
Passive recon. That sounds sneaky, like they don't want the target to know they're looking.
That's the idea. Passive reconnaissance gathers information using publicly available sources only. You don't directly interact with the target's systems in a way that might trigger alarms.
What kind of public sources are we talking about?
Oh, loads. Company websites, social media, especially employee profiles, news articles, job postings, which might hint at tech stacks, public records, WOSS database lookups for domain registration info, DNS records. It's often called OSINT.
OSINT.
Open source intelligence, using freely available information.
So this is like deep Googling and database searching, totally under the radar.
Pretty much. It's low risk for the searcher, and you'd be amazed what kind of digital footprint and potential clues you can uncover just from public data. Weak points often start becoming visible here.
Okay, so passive is observing from afar. What about active reconnaissance then?
Active recon is where you start directly interacting with the target systems. You're sending probes, scanning networks.
Okay, this sounds more direct, like knocking on digital doors to see if they're locked. Less stealthy.
Definitely less stealthy. There's a higher chance of being detected. Techniques include things like port scanning.
Port scanning.
Using tools to see which network doors or ports are open on a server and what services might be listening behind them. Vulnerability scanning. Using tools to check for known software flaws. Network mapping or fingerprinting.
Our source mentioned Nmap for that kind of thing. What does a tool like Nmap actually find?
Nmap is a powerhouse for active recon. It can discover live hosts on a network, identify open ports on those hosts, figure out what services are running, like web servers, mail servers, often guess the operating system, and sometimes even the specific version of the software running.
Wow. So if Nmap finds, say, an old, unpatched version of some software.
Bingo. The tester or attacker immediately knows about known vulnerabilities associated with that specific version and can try to exploit them.
Okay, so active recon gives you way more detailed, actionable info for planning an attack, but it's noisier. Passive is stealthy, but maybe less specific.
That's the trade-off, exactly. Most sophisticated attacks or tests will use a combination of both, starting passive and then moving to active probes based on what they learned.
Right, it all builds up. Okay, so let's try and wrap this all together. We've covered quite a bit.
We have. From internal checks to external validation, and then actively testing defenses.
Yeah, we saw how companies use internal audits, external audits assessments, all to check they're following rules, their finances are sound, their systems are working as intended. That builds the foundation.
Right, verifying things are being done correctly. That attestation piece again.
And then we shifted to penetration testing, where ethical hackers simulate attacks, trying to find holes before the real attackers do, using reconnaissance, passive and active, to gather the intel they need first.
Which tests if things are actually secure in practice. They really complement each other, the compliance checks and the active testing.
Definitely. And why should you, listening at home or wherever you are, care about all this corporate jargon?
Well, it's not just jargon, is it?
No. Because of these processes, they build the trust you rely on every single day. When you use online banking, when you trust a company with your data, when you expect a product to be safe. There are audits and tests happening behind the scenes.
Understanding this gives you a better sense of the effort involved in security and compliance. It makes you a more informed person in this complex digital world.
Absolutely. You can appreciate what goes into making things trustworthy, or maybe ask better questions when things go wrong.
Exactly. It empowers you.
So let's leave everyone with a final thought. We've talked about attestation building trust and audits and pen tests aiming for safety and accountability. But is perfect safety or total accountability actually achievable?
That's a big question, isn't it? With technology changing so fast, new threats popping up constantly, regulations shifting.
Is it more like a finish line you cross, or is it this demanding, ongoing race that maybe never really ends, just trying to stay one step ahead?
Something to definitely ponder next time you hear about a company passing an audit or undergoing a security test. Is it a snapshot in time or a marker in a continuous journey?